Yes, Satyam. Maybe we can start. Yeah, do you want to introduce for this meeting, or you want me to introduce?
No, I'll do this.
Yep, please
Cool.
go ahead.
Yeah. So, Nishant, recording started. Okay. Good morning. This is Satyam here. I'm a contributor, OpenEBS contributor, and I've been associated with OpenEBS since year. It's been a year, and today I'm going to walk you through the monitoring and visualization, specifically for OpenEBS. How I mean, we are going through some OpenEBS concepts plus some methodologies like monitoring and visualization, and some then we will be jumping into the view scope, and then Maya Online, like how you can monitor and visualize your OpenEBS volumes in your Kubernetes cluster. So I have my colleague Akash here with us, and welcome Akash. Okay, so I'll begin. Let me- okay. Uh, All right. I'm going to talk about OpenEBS visualization and monitoring using ViewScope. So first of all, for those who are new to the Kubernetes, or maybe do not know what Kubernetes is, but knows what heard of OpenEBS. This is kind of a foundation which I'll try to lay. What is Kubernetes? So Kubernetes is the container orchestration tool which is used for the management of the containers. Okay, it is a production grade container orchestration tool. Okay, Kubernetes comprises of pods, services, controllers, persistent volumes. So pods is nothing but the set of containers, and services are nothing but you know uh, service is the way to expose that pod to the external world. Okay, and similar with the controller are also a set of uh, containers, and controllers are used uh, there are different kinds of controllers in Kubernetes, such as deployment, stateful sets, daemon sets. Every controller has its own meaning and its own job. uh, and Next part is persistent volumes, which excites us as OpenEBS contributors. So persistent volumes are provided at the for Kubernetes. Okay, that is a concept to attach the volume to your particular pod, and OpenEBS is the this is where the OpenEBS comes into picture. OpenEBS can provide the persistent volumes for your pods. Okay, moving next. So what is OpenEBS? As we talked about the persistent volumes, so OpenEBS is the container attached storage. That means your each container, each stateful workload will have its own storage pod running with itself, and OpenEBS is used for the stateful workloads in Kubernetes. Okay, let us see how OpenEBS looks. The overview of the OpenEBS. Uh, OpenEBS, like you can see this is as a Kubernetes cluster, 3-node Kubernetes cluster, and here you can see on each node that application is there, which has a PV and which has a volume residing underlying, which has a volume, and this is the relationship like OpenEBS has. OpenEBS is truly a containerized storage because it provides storage as a container. Okay, OpenEBS has mainly two types of storage engines. One is a Jiva and one is CStore, and both can be deployed as a container. Okay, so this was about the OpenEBS. I just quickly ran through that because I know most of you know what OpenEBS is. So I'll talk about monitoring and visualization here. Okay, so why monitoring is important? Okay, so even I will talk about the monitoring for the storage. Okay, so monitoring is important because you may face some issues during the uh, production. Okay, during the when your application is in a production, you may have your developers may have missed some of the bugs or application exceptions which are occurring in the production right now, and you do not know how to handle those. Okay, or maybe your application is consuming a lot of CPU or a lot of memory which it is not supposed to. Okay, or maybe how much input like IOPS your database is having, your storage is having. Okay, so these are the monitoring factors. Okay, uh, and to do that we have like several mechanism in OpenEBS by which you can actually extract this particular metrics, and that is done using the Prometheus. We are using Prometheus to extract those. Okay, so to know to have the clear to have the clear picture about this particular things which I have mentioned, which is application exceptions, server CPU usage, server memory usage, storage spikes. Uh, this that is why like monitoring is important. Okay. Uh, Next thing is why visualization is important. So visualization, as in if you have the clear picture about your you know uh, whole Kubernetes cluster, all of your infra. So you can actually see that, okay, I can actually, see my pods or my deployments running, or maybe I have deployed some microservices, but they are not talking with each other. If you have that kind of mechanism, then it will really save your time to troubleshoot the particular issue. Okay, these two factors, monitoring and visualization, we are going to see, and this problem is solved by the tool called WeaveScope. Okay, so here is the WeaveScope, as you can see. So WeaveScope is great tool which is based on the principle of intuitive engineering. What that means is, it will keep it is very much user friendly, plus it provides all the abstractions, okay, over your whole Kubernetes cluster. It can show you all the components in the form of node, and the lines which are joining those components are known as edges. Okay, so or adjacency, and this adjacency represents the network connection between these two particular pods. So as an OpenEBS contributor, what we have done is, in the view scope, is we have added the support for storage. Okay, so in view scope, you can now see how you can, how your workloads are connected to which volumes it is, and uh, then later how your volumes have been distributed as a controller and replicas. Okay, so this is view scope. I will quickly talk about view scope terminologies. Okay, so as you can see here at the top, that we have process containers, pods, hosts. So these are known as topology in the view scope. Each topology has like sub topologies, where in this case it's a controller services below the pods. Okay, and we have the graph and table, then how much memory it is consuming, how much CPU this particular pod is consuming, that feature we have. Okay, so this is one thing about the view scope, and these are the terminology. At the bottom, you can see that we have the storage, show storage, hide storage buttons, then show unmanaged, hide unmanaged button, and we have like all the namespaces. Okay, whatever the namespace is running in my system are at the bottom. You can select that particular namespace and you will see the pods related to that particular namespace. Okay, so this is overall picture of the view scope. We will move to the demo part, but let me talk about how view scopes helps the microservices architecture. If you are running your applications as a microservices, then you may want to see the networking of those particular microservices, like how those services are talking with each other. Then you also want to see how your different infrastructure components are behaving, such as storage, your network, plus all the Kubernetes resources which are there in your system. Okay. WeaveScope also solves the problem of the monitoring and logging. So how you can do the monitoring and logging, I will quickly demonstrate you soon. And you can see the better view of system configuration. Okay. So here you don't actually have to uh, you know when, let's say we have like a 12 node cluster, and each node has some five pods running. So you have, let's say, 60 pods running across your cluster. Okay. So these 60 pods have their own configuration by mean they have their own Docker labels, containers have their own Docker labels, then pods have their own Kubernetes labels, pods have their own environment variables. Okay. So this is the system configuration. Now let's say if you want to see this if you want to check system configuration for some particular pod, so you will have to do the kubectl get pods, and then find the name of the pod, and then describe that pod, and then or maybe exec into that pod, then do the env and all that stuff. Okay. So that's kind of a tedious task. Okay. Let's say what happens if the number of pods increases to some 600. Okay. So are you going to do the kubectl get pods and then again follow this whole process, right? No. So answer is no. So how viewscope helps in that help to resolve that problem, we will see soon. The main feature I'm going to talk about is storage view, how we are showing the OpenEBS pods in the view scope, and how you can actually see the configuration of that those OpenEBS pods. Okay. So yeah, that's about the problems which viewscope solves for the microservices architecture. uh, Now I have the view scope architecture here in front of me. So view scope, it's majorly defined. It has like two components. One is a probe and one is the application. Probe runs on each node as a daemon set, and probe will keep on sending the data to the application. Okay. And that application has a UI plus some rendering code which will render the output on the browser. Okay. So each probe sends the uh, data in the form of report, and those reports are gathered and merged at the level of application, and that application will in turn send that particular final report to the browser. All right. So this is about the architecture. Do we have any question till now? Okay, so let's move ahead. So now let's move to the demo part, how to use the view scope. Okay, so to demonstrate the view scope, we have the platform called Maya Online, and you can actually create account and log into the Maya Online, and you can use it. So I'll quickly demonstrate you how we can use the Maya Online to do this. Okay, so the concept of Maya Online is like, when you want to monitor your OpenEBS volumes plus Kubernetes cluster, you can use Maya Online. And currently Maya Online is free to all. And my online has several features such as monitoring and a better configuration view, which I will demonstrate you soon. So all my online flow is like you have to import your cluster in the my online, and then you can visualize your cluster. Okay, so let me show you my Kubernetes cluster. Okay, I'm running a Kubernetes cluster on Google Cloud, and I will import the Kubernetes cluster from there in the my online. That will my online will in turn install all the monitoring components in your cluster, and it will show you the whole view at the one place. So that's a kind of a centralized monitoring. So yeah, as you can see, like how many pods I have, right? I have like a lot of pods, lots of PVCs. Okay, applications running. You can see that these many OpenEBS volumes I have, okay, created by OpenEBS. And yeah, now I'm going to import this cluster in my online. So since I have an existing OpenEBS cluster on Kubernetes, so I will just import it as it is. Cool. This means my cluster is connected to my online. Okay, so you can do the Slack configuration also if you want the chat ops. Right now, let's skip this part. Okay, I'll again quickly show you how like what are the components installed by my online. Yeah. So earlier we did not have this namespace called Maya system. Okay, so we have like I have 4 node Kubernetes cluster. So 4 agents are installed, and I have one WeaveScope app. Then I have the Maya IO agent. Then multi-tenant Prometheus is there. Okay, so let's see. I think my screen has frozen. Hmm. So earlier that was the list of okay. I think all right. Okay, so in my online, I have the in the clusters. I will show you the clusters. Okay, so I have this cluster created, which is in active state, uh, whose name is Sharp Richie. Okay, you can edit the cluster name as you want. Uh, and in the view topology here tab, we have the view scope installed. Okay, cool. So now Yeah. As I imported my cluster, as you can see, I can see all my pods which are running in my cluster here. Okay. And yeah, and let me show you the OpenEBS volumes, how we can see the OpenEBS volumes. Okay, so these are the let's say Couchbase is the one. Okay, so Couchbase has the PVC named Couchbase data, Couchbase 0. Then it has created a PV, and then PV has the controller and its replicas. Okay, so this is the view which you can get using the WeaveScope. Okay, let's say you want to investigate the parameters for this particular controller. So you can see the information about it. You can see the network connections where it is making the calls. Okay, this particular controller. Then what are the containers running inside this particular controller? Okay, which has right now Maya volume exporter and PV. Okay, and how much CPU and memory they are consuming. So this is kind of a monitoring aspect of this. Okay, and what are the processes running inside this pod, that can also be seen through this. Okay, and what are the Kubernetes labels associated with this particular pod, so they can also be seen here. Okay, so this is how you can see the configuration. Now let's say we want to see the logs for this particular container pod. So these are the logs for this particular pod. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, like we have the call like slash v1 slash stats, which is happening very quickly. That is because the we are doing it for fetching the metrics from the controller. Okay, now since we are on this particular controller, I will show you the container. Okay, so this is the container for this this is the Jiva container. Okay, you can see the information about this as status, which is not consuming. It is like very consuming very less CPU. It is showing the memory taken by this particular container. Then you can see the image name. You can see the command. You can see the uptime, right? How many time it restarted and everything. Whatever the information you can get through kubectl, that's here. Okay. Also, you can see what are the connections it is making. Okay, such as inbound, outbound. Okay, on which port it is listening, and then what is the process, I mean, which is the process running inside this container. So if I do attach, so attach means it is attached to this particular container, and you can see the logs here. Okay, directly on your screen. You did not have to do any kind of kubectl get pods, then get the name, then again exec into that, and or do the kubectl logs or something like that, all on a one mouse click. Okay, then if you want to exec into that particular shell for that a particular pod, so this is how you can do it, just by pressing one button, and you can actually go and do your stuff inside that container. So it is showing me what are the processes running, right? If you want to restart this particular container, you can do it. If you want to pause it, if you want to stop it, all you can do through UI itself. Then let's say process. Let's go to the process. What information it can give me about the process. So I have the Longhorn process running inside that particular pod, and it can show you that these many number of files have been opened by this particular process, and this much memory it is consuming, and yeah, inbound, outbound, again same networking stuff, and then EID for that particular process, right? So these are the things you can do using WeaveScope. Okay, here if you click on the PVC, okay, now I clicked on the PVC, you can see the information about that particular persistent volume claim, and it shows you here only. So which persistent volume it is attached to, just click here. You can get the information about the persistent volumes, then which is the pod, controller pod, which is attached to this particular persistent volume. So this is the controller pod coming up. Okay, so this is about this is how you can actually see the OpenEBS volumes and whole OpenEBS in this particular view. So this is how WeaveScope is important for monitoring and visualization purpose. So till this, any questions? All right, I will now demonstrate you how you can see the IOPS and IOPS for this particular, for these volumes, OpenEBS volumes, using the WeaveScope. So, okay, is my plugin running? Okay, we have the plugin, a scope plugin called IOPS, scope plugin for OpenEBS IOPS. It's there on the GitHub, and currently it is not integrated with the Maya Online, which we will do soon. Okay, so let me. Sorry. Okay, so I have it. I will just quickly apply the plugin YAML. Okay, so OpenEBS IOPS plugin is created, and it should come in the. All right. So earlier, as you seen that only CPU and memory were coming. So now read and write is coming, right? So let me show you how can you. Let's say you want to see the read IOPS. Okay. So I'll just deselect this. Currently in the PV. Okay. So this cylinder here, which is not dotted, is known as PV, and this is the PVC. Okay. Once you click on the read for that particular PV, you can see the IOPS. Okay. When I click on that, plugin will fetch the IOPS and it will show you the in the form of the graph. Okay. On the PV object, it will show it like this. And these dotted lines are nothing but storage adjacencies. As you can see that this PVC is created using the storage class called OpenEBS Percona. Okay, this is the information about the OpenEBS Percona. So yeah, this is the storage class. Okay. Do you have any questions till this? So that's it then. I think I'm done. So yeah, thanks.
Hey, thanks, Satyam. So currently, today we have only this in our agenda. We can reach out to Satyam or others in a team via Slack. If there are any queries that comes up later, we can post them on Slack, and we can get the solutions to them as well. So thanks all for joining. We are good to end this call now.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks.